the two different types of Minidisc player that I sort of rely on for tip-top quality are, and this is kind of tough to describe, high Minidisc, late generation high Minidisc players from Sony. Of course, they're basically the only ones to do that. And then Sharp Auvi. Each have weaknesses and each have strengths. And unfortunately, you cannot use the same earphones or the same headphones on either one unless you have the right adapters. What do I mean by that? Well, let me show you a regular earphone. This is an Audio Technica CK100 Pro. Don't have the ear pads on them, but they have the classic wonderful Audio Technica cable, which is supple, strong, and extremely resistant to touch noise. And at the back here, they have, again, the classic Audio Technica connector, but it's 3-pole. This is TRRS, so ring, sleeve, and sleeve, and it's basically left-right channel plus a ground. If you plug this into your Sony High MD, you will get good sound, although a little bit of hiss. In fact, most earphones, especially the sensitive ones, will hiss quite a bit. If you want to use the same earphones that you love on this one, and you want to use it on a Sharp Auvi, and not every single Sharp Auvi is as good as this one, and this one, okay, I haven't done the review for it, but this basically represents the pinnacle of any portable Minidisc technology that exists. It doesn't do high Minidisc, no. You're stuck to regular SP, LP2, LP4, and mono recordings. However, the amplifier on this thing is dead silent. You can put it up against a $3,000 DAP from last year, from anyone, from Astel & Kern, from Cayenne, from anyone out there, and it will have the same amount of hiss as those through the most sensitive earphones, even the Shure SE846. If you have the limits of 16-bit, which are 96 decibels of stereo, it's like this. Now that's theoretical. You're never going to get that playback perfectly on any device that's playing 16-bit whilst you are basically listening to music at the comfortable level. But theoretically, that's the limit. If you're using a TRRS connection like this through the best, like the non-balanced, this is a balanced, by the way, balanced player, a non-balanced player, you're going to get up to 90 decibels, which is excellent. In fact, I don't see the point of even going higher than that. But if you want to enjoy the benefits of low amounts of noise, less distortion, and a couple of other benefits that maybe we'll touch again later, you need a TRRS connection. And if you plug in your TRS like this, your stereo, theoretical stereo, is going to go from here, 96 decibels, to around 25 tops. Absolute tops. Sometimes less than that, 18 decibels. Sometimes less than that, 12 decibels. And that essentially would be like putting two channel speakers right in front of you like this, and sitting back several meters and listening. Yeah, you're going to get a little bit of nuance from the left channel and the right channel, but essentially you're going to be listening to Monorio Plus, which does not sound good. In light of the fact that I have recently purchased an earphone that I really like, which is called the Audio Technica CKR100 this year. It's got dual diaphragms, dynamic diaphragms, 13 millimeters each. This one, of course, is using a TRS connection. So if I wanted to use it with the Sharp, I would get no stereo. So I need to have some sort of adapter. Now this doesn't use a regular, MMCX connection. It uses some sort of Audio Technica one. It's not proprietary. Some other companies use it. The connector's been on the market for quite a long time. So in order to enjoy these earphones on the Sharp Auvi as well as something like this, I need to get an adapter. And what I got from Yahoo Auction is this, from Groove Audio. They're a local Japanese company, and we're just going to open it up. One thing I'm noticing immediately here is that I'm going to have to use these earphones channel backwards. This earphone has the left channel labeled like that inside the earphone, and then it has an L right here, I'm not sure if you can see it, right there on the cable. And they plug in like this, and the way that Audio Technica wants you to use this is with the cable down. But if you're using a different cable, one, for instance, that appears to loop around the ears like this, you're going to have to either switch the channels because they may not be comfortable exactly as was designed to wear them with these cables, or you're going to have to find a different way to sort of position them in your ears. So we're just going to try this out. I've got the left channel here from Groove Audio, and again, the left, there we are, the left channel of that. And so I'm just going to pop it in here. Nice fit, by the way. They twirl a little bit like MMCX. And this is just the left one going at the left. I'm going to see just sort of how it fits. I'm going to do that with the right channel as well. And so far, honestly, so far so good. I was not super excited about wearing these upside down, but at the moment it looks like I might, apart from the insertion angle, which doesn't seem to change so much. If you look at the side of the earphone, by the way, the ear tube, sorry, is not slanted up, but Audio Technica haven't done that. So it could be that this is just going to work. Now I'm going to plug this bad boy into the Sharp, and we're just going to see what sort of sound we can get going from it. All right. Before I put a disc in the Auvi, what I really want to do, and maybe is incumbent on me to do anyway, is to plug in the TRRS into the Sony and just to listen what I'll hear. I'm expecting that what I'm going to get is sound out of one channel and not out of the other. So let's just hit play. I'm not sure if you're going to... There we are. Yeah, I'm just hearing sound out of the left side here. There's nothing out of the right. So obviously that wouldn't work. You cannot use a TRRS connection with this Sony. Now, interestingly, the reason I'm bringing that up is because there's actually some earphones that you can use that do have TRRS connections with the Sony. This is the AKG K3000i. But this one is an interesting one that works both with Auvi players like this that require 4-pole, as well as ones like this, but it's not optimal for either. You're not going to get a lot of stereo separation with this one, and you're going to get a little bit more than you would with a TRRS connection, but not much more with the Auvi. These are beautiful sounding earphones, very expensive ones, and ones that I think are worth, certainly at their used prices now, which, you know, they're still not cheap, but they're definitely worth it. They sound great, they fit wonderfully. You could put them on you can basically put them in your ears and then go to bed and you have no problem. If you get the AKG 3000, don't get the I version, get the regular TRS version, and then just have at it with these. Okay, we're gonna pop this bad boy in here. Pump up the jam. I'm getting sound in both channels, of course. One thing I find with these earphones is that when you wear them with the cable going down, they basically very easily just go right into your ears and there's essentially no insertion problems. But with a cable up, what I'm getting is a lot less weight going down my body. And of course, that's just typical of using an earphone cable that goes around the ear. Now, the one thing that I really didn't like about this earphone, and what I complained about already, is that the cable that came with it originally is high friction. It's strong. It's very, very strong, but it's high friction. And there's loads and loads of noise that is transferred to the ear. And I think this is a huge problem for this earphone. This replacement is a lot nicer of a cable. It doesn't transfer as much basically touch noise. So you can touch here, you can touch at the Y split, you can touch anywhere as far as I'm noticing. And I'm not getting the transferred noise to my ear. But the other thing is, because the cable's going around my ear, all of those benefits to the cable material itself then multiply in a positive way whilst you wear it around your ear. The thing is, of course, this one here is a straight angle going out of the player, which means when you put it in your pocket, you have to be a little bit more careful. The best way I found is to have an L-shaped elbow go this way, and then you can insert down that way. But you know, as long as you're careful, you can put this in your pocket and you're probably not going to hurt the cable, but you still got to be careful. Now up close, the cable is really well woven, and you can see here there's, how many strands are in there? Let's just take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, eight strands. I guess that makes sense, 8 strands. And I'm just going to show you quickly the Y split here, which is this carbon fiber thing. I'm not a big fan of this carbon fiber thing. Of course, it looks to be, there's no sort of heat shrink that's going around these to protect them from metal bite, either on the bottom or the top, but I don't think that's really going to be a problem. I used to kind of be worried about that, but I've used many cables over the years that are designed like this, and they don't have that problem. Now this is a pretty solid piece of aluminium, it looks like. It's got branding even there, GA for Groove Audio, of course. It slides up and down, and as you'll notice, it's not going to slide down by itself, so that's a good fit. A very nice design. There's a lot of memory in these memory wires. It's holding itself flat, basically, even under gravity. And these earphones are not light. That means that this thing's going to be stiff. If you've got thick glasses, it's going to interrupt the way that you wear your glasses. I'm quite impressed with how this thing is in general. Like I said, it rejects noise, and it seems to work fine in terms of how you're getting sound from this thing in all four, well, basically all two channels, but also spread wide. The thing that is quite interesting about these earphones, again, CKR100, is that they have a lot more bass than a lot of Audio Technica earphones. A lot of high-end Audio Technica earphones are known for having a very sharp high range, smooth mids, and bass that transfers into the mids very smoothly. The bass on this thing, well, it's extremely reactive. How do I describe that? Reactive would be you can hit very low notes, like for instance Marcus Scholl's Mainstage, which has been my benchmark for bass response for years. It's so low that most earphones, even bass heavy ones, will not render those opening like 4 or 5 seconds. And I think basically the fluctuations of those 4 or 5 seconds is probably something down like 30 hertz, maybe 40 hertz, something like that. And so the number of people that are also going to be able to hear it is vanishingly few. It's also a very warm as well as diffuse bass. So you're not going to get a bass slamming into the mids. Sometimes you get that with like hard V signatures or hard U signatures. This one, it's a little bit more gentle going into the mids. However, it's pervasive. It doesn't block out the treble, it doesn't block out the mids, but it's a warmth that is always going to be there. And it is suffused throughout the entire range. It's not going to make it stuffy. It's not going to make it too rich. But if you like bass, you're going to like these. The thing is, it's not a slam sounding earphone. The bass hits low and then smoothly melds into the mids. So you get a lot of really low reactive bass, but you don't get a lot of like high Duffy Duff sort of rap style bass. My initial impression of the mids was that they were the main focus of this earphone, and it could have been that I was wearing the wrong tips. Now the tips I have on right now are actually from the AKG, I believe. And the reason I've used them is because they fit well. The first ones that I was wearing didn't fit well, and my ears are very sensitive, so I'm very selective about the tips that I wear. Now, of course, tips are going to really affect what you hear and how you hear, but these ones, they're very, very comfortable. This equatorial ridge here is basically, despite the fact that it sticks out a bit, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't rub against my ears in a weird way, and whatever these sort of striations here are, they might make it so that it compresses a little bit more and is more comfortable within the ear. So I find it very, very comfortable. And with these ones, the mids are not the central and only major important focus of the music. It seems to be that it's shared all around. So overall, good balance between the bass and the mids. The bass is pervasive, the mids are strong and wide. They're also rich. So while I haven't done a lot of vocal listening yet, I have to say that I've got enough experience with the mids at the moment and vocals that you're going to get a good sort of earthly grounding to the mids, which is, I think, is good. They're not going to jump out. They're not going to suddenly get really sharp female vocals. You're not going to suddenly get very sort of razor sharp or razor, cut out male vocals, but you're going to get very good sound in that way. A little bit rich. If you are a person that prefers something a little bit flatter, a little bit more neutral, you're going to find both the bass as well as the mids maybe just a bit rich. Now when we get to the highs, and this is the biggest departure I found for a lot of Audio Technica earphones, these ones, the CK100 Pros, they sound very, very much like a CK10 with better bass and a little bit like nicer sculpted highs, which means you get quite a bit of detail within the highs, of course, and bass is nowhere near as reactive as this one. So this would be very close to sort of flatline neutral, and these would, as far as I can tell, it's like a gentle U or a sculpted V like that, except that only describes the bass and into the mids. The highs are really quite, I don't want to say dark. They're not exactly dark because you're not losing detail. I don't feel like you're losing detail, but you're definitely not getting the typical Audio Technica ringing sound. And I'm not talking about sibilance, but like there's a certain amount of, maybe not reverb is not the right word, but there's a certain amount of ringing, sort of crystal line, sort of, I don't know, chiming energy in the highs that you used to get or usually get with Audio Technica earphones and headphones that you're not getting with these. So these are very much departed from the typical Audio Technica house sound. Do I like it? Overall, I like these very much. I do miss the highs, however. The highs on these perfectly balance out the mids, which are great, and the bass, well, I could do for a little bit more sort of impact. Basically, I have no problem with. These ones, if you could take the signature as it is with the rich mids and the rich highs, or sorry, the rich mids and the rich bass and the reactive bass, and add in the highs from the CK100 Pro, I think you'd basically have, at least for me, a perfect sound signature. It would be more neutral than these ones, but not quite as neutral as the CK100 Pro. And that's sort of where I am at as a 40-year-old. When I was 30 and a little bit younger, I liked something as super flatline as I could get. Seems to be that now I do like a little bit of reduction in treble and a little bit more warmth within the mids. Now, the last thing I want to discuss is sensitivity. These things are sensitive enough with both cables to reveal quite a bit of hiss from the likes of an MZEH 930 or a 630 or an MZE55 or any Iowa basically from any generation. And actually, and they're sensitive enough to reveal hiss not from this thing does not hiss at all, but from the the DR7 and the DR77 and some other poorer amped Auvi units. So overall, the only, and this is again just kind of the trouble. These earphones, you know, they're not as expensive as they used to be, but they're still not cheap. I got mine used for not the greatest price, but they're in great shape. But I have to invest in a cable because the one platform that I can really use them comfortably, meaning good left and right separation, but basically no hiss noise, is the Auvi. And not any Auvi. It has to be these later generation, like this one of Gain is the DS55, which I basically talked up quite a bit with Gareth Davies on my latest live stream. This is a great sounding unit. I don't think there's, in the Minidisc world, you can't get better sound. You can get higher volume, but you cannot get better sound. There's just perfect separation between channels. There's low noise, and there's of course that Auvi sound, if you like that Auvi sound. In order to use these earphones and enjoy them with Minidisc, you need to use an Auvi. This isn't going to do it for you. And of course, if this did do it for you, you'd still have to use the horrible cable that came with these earphones, which is a real shame. So overall, right now, I'm looking at the Groove Audio, and I think it went for 8,000 yen or 7,000 yen, maybe 8,000 with shipping, something like that. And that's not cheap. That's like 80 bucks or 130 Canadian or something like that. But they're just, it transforms an earphone that was made for sensitive-eared people to use with devices that don't hiss. And obviously, it seems to have enough mid-range and bass range detailed to really bring out anything that you throw at it. So I'm looking forward to spending a lot more time with these earphones, with the Groove Audio cable, and with this. I'll put links in the description for Groove Audio, where you can find them on Yahoo Auction. I don't know if they ship abroad or not. I will chat with the maker later on. I bought this, he didn't give me this cable. So anyway, yeah, and that's just a little chat about the MZE 930, MZEH 930, as well as the DS55, plus the woes and the cons and the pluses of using balanced as well as unbalanced, and then your favorite earphone. So I'll see you guys later. Cheers.